we've gotten to that wonderful point of suspension design for this build. I have the program open here. I have some plumb bobs, some chalk to be marking on the floor. I actually cleaned up and swept the floor so we can actually make legible marks on the floor there. And what I'm going to be doing is putting the axle and the chassis at ride height in relation to each other, and then we're going to be picking up some points, making a bunch of measurements, and calculating the front 3-link geometry, and then seeing if it'll actually fit physically on the vehicle. When we're designing the front suspension, a term that we're going to be using a lot is anti-dive, and that refers to the way the vehicle reacts to the braking forces. When you're coming to a stop and you have 100% anti-dive, the vehicle is going to remain level. If you're coming to a stop and you have less than 100% anti-dive, the front end is going to compress under braking forces. If you're coming to a stop and you have over 100% anti-dive, the front end will actually lift under braking. When I'm designing the front suspension in the Trooper, I'm designing it around 100% anti-dive, which means the front end will not compress under braking, but I'm leaving myself the option to go above and below 100%. This is the 3-link calculator that I used to design the suspension geometry. Up here we have vehicle specifications, the wheelbase, tire diameter, the center of gravity, and the overall weight. Here we have information on the upper and lower links and how they are mounted to the vehicle, at what height and offset they are. And this is a side view. Basically, this right here is a side view of the vehicle. This is the rear tire, this is the front tire, and then in the blue we have the upper controller, and in the red we have a lower controller from the side. This view is from the top. We have the lowers in red and the single upper in blue. The line that we're going to pay attention to here is this dashed green line, and that is our anti-squat line. The convergence point of the upper and lower links, if they were extended, right now lands on that line, which gives us our 100% anti-squat value. Now we are dealing with the front suspension, so instead of this being anti-squat, it's actually anti-dive. So obviously we can't just put these links wherever we want to get this number. There's an engine in here, there's a front axle, there's drive shafts, there's a bunch of things that need to be worked around. So this is a good compromise here to give us close to the geometry that we want, and we're still able to physically fit it in the vehicle. The one area that I've allowed adjustability is right here, the upper control arm mount on the frame. This is the center hole. I have 3 holes that are 1 inch apart. So as you can see, we're currently at 100% anti-squat. If I change this number down to the bottom hole, that number will increase. So now we're almost at 113%. And then if I put it in the top hole, that number will go down, as you can see right there. So that adjustability gives me some changes that I can make to go above and below that 100% and change the way the front suspension reacts. That's going to be a neat tuning tool. So after coming up with all our measurements of where we want the links to be, we have to make brackets to hold the links in those locations. So here we're using cardboard to design brackets. We're going to cut these brackets out of cardboard, mock them in place a little bit, and then I will be designing those in computer software to then cut out on the plasma tape.
program that I use to design these parts is BendTech Pro. It's a very basic two-dimensional program, but I've learned it enough so I'm fairly quick at designing parts on it. And it also exports in a file format that our plasma cutter likes. So I haven't gotten around to learning Fusion 360, but this program's been working pretty well so far. After the parts come off the plasma table, I need to clean them up a little bit. Just get the slag off of them, get them prepped for welding. And then I'll weld the brackets together and then fit them onto the vehicle so we can mock everything up. Now that I have the brackets tacked together, I can clean up the chassis, clean up the cross member, and tack the mounts that are going to be mounted in those areas on. And then I also have to mount the brackets onto the front axle. After all that cutting, grinding, welding, we have our mounts on the axle. This is the lower mount. We have our upper 3-link mount there and our lower mount there. You can see they are angled inwards because as this tire angles to turn, we need to have clearance for our links. They're not going to rub. The same thing is taking place up here. The mounting location on the cross member is in quite a bit from this location, so that control arm is going to angle in. Those are our lower mounts there. Those lower mounts are made out of 5/16 steel. And then our upper mount there, which again has those 3 holes that we talked about with the calculator, that allows us to go from 100% anti-dive and then above and below that. So we can dial in our suspension geometry just with that one location. That way we're not moving 2 arms, we're just moving 1, we get the same result. So pretty cool. Just want to thank all the people that helped out. Thoreau for coming over and measuring. Ben for helping me come up with the templates. KG Performance for letting me use the plasma table and cutting out these brackets there. It's been a fun trip so far. Did kind of a little Super Trooper logo in there. Spice it up a little bit. Next time we'll be building the links and cycling the suspension, seeing how everything jives. Thanks for following along. Subscribe so you can check out the next one. Thanks, guys.